o'clock, we'll get our workshop started.
We'll do a pledge at the other one.
At the other one. Okay. All right, thank you guys all for coming. And then we're going to start with our discussion.
First we'll start with plan one architecture. Good. Coming up, we have a little spot right for you over here. This is a talk about the HVAC bid process and information for plan one.
So during our pre-bid, we had 3 contractors show up to the pre-bid. We ended up with 1 bid, but it's a good bid. We did validate it with our engineers. And we bid out the Wheatland Library HVAC, the Wheatland Waite Building HVAC, and the Libby Elementary School multi-purpose and commercial HVAC. And those 4 bids came in at $1,485,000. So what we're proposing is to accept 3 of the bids under the CARES funding that we're getting funding for, which would be $1,007,300, and accept the other bid to use major maintenance on that. So we'd be able to get 4 new air handlers this summer.
Did you say, what was the original amount? You said 1.4 million?
$1,485,000.
And we always talk about delaying, but every time you delay, it becomes more costly. The maintenance funds will take care of part of that. But I think, again, if you wait too long, then all it keeps getting more expensive. So we felt like that was probably a decision to move forward with engineering plans and kind of what we're able to do now and get those done.
And the contractor can get to it this summer.
Yes. There is a question on the library portion. There's some electrical switchgear that might be out for a long time, but they said they could do a temporary electrical service. So that at least during the school year, do that confunctioning, and just might have to come in and replace the switchgear.
Okay, so we approved to go to bid. They went to bid, 1 out of 3 panned out. What's the next step?
You approved it tonight. It's on our agenda.
Okay, and then they were for to do all this summer? Correct? I mean, hopefully it's correctly.
Yeah.
I meant correct. Any other questions? Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to switch down a little bit just to give maybe Ryan a little time to give some time for the IDB and other questions maybe that you guys have, maybe questions out of the audience. So let's have maybe Tom with Glendo Staffing talk through it. You say that if you want to, or come up and join us.
I was waving like I knew I was next.
Oh, good. I called on you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So we just went through, we had a little meet and greet with some Glendo parents and staff members. And so I just walked through what staffing is going to look like for next year with their numbers. So we are going to have 1 person for K12, 1 person for 3, 4, 5, 1 person for 6, 7, 8, 1 person to do all the specials. So she'll do PE, art, not music. We have someone else to do some music. Then we'll have, depending on the time, like a 0.7, 0.75 secretary. That was my suggestion. Library the same, which the library is like a library slash classroom para. It's the same thing. She works in the library, but she also works in the classrooms, and they're paid out of the same fund. That would be 0.7. A 0.7 is like 30 hours in a 40-hour week. And then Ag 0.3, so that would be 1 class period a day. Title 1 which is outside of the funding. That comes from a grant. That'll be 0.75 to 1, depending on what schedule we go with next year. And then we're using some grant funds and some general fund to help fund the preschool program, to make sure that that stays. And then inside of that, Jana Hanley will do some of the music. If you've ever heard her play, you know why.
So no other for the music and just no other will be hired for music?
No.
Okay.
She does good
No.
music.
Okay.
No, we'll have one person that's doing all the specials outside of music, and they'll do, computers and coding and keyboarding and PE. What else do we think about? Some art stuff, arts and crafts stuff, whatever they need. So that should put us about right at what the state model tells us we should have.
So I'll look at hiring a secretary sometime in spring.
Yep, that's the only one that we have to hire.
Okay.
So that's the only actual opening, everything else is filled.
Any questions about window staffing? Any questions?
Yeah, I did, but I'll get back to you on that. I don't remember what it was. I got sidetracked.
It's a parents probably talked to you about a 4-day week for students, so we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah,
So
they
we're looking at that?
mentioned-
Yep,
and
looking at that maybe.
I told
Yeah,
them
we talked
we-
about that?
I think people know about it, we're looking at it.
Okay. I have.
that we'd discuss, and then maybe in the April workshop or something.
Yeah,
But
that's
they
fine.
sounded very excited about it.
Yes, they did. They even had some ideas for me to change it around a little bit to make it work for them a little better, so.
You're looking at just one para for the,
There will be the library para, and then Title I will be a full-time para also. So basically, they have two. And then, we had talked about even when we look at hiring a secretary, using that person also in some of those things when they have downtime. They have downtime.
I know the
So-
6, 7, 8 isn't too hard, but like K1 and 2 is pretty hard
You can,
without a para in there.
without a para,
Without, they don't have.
well, they'll have a para, library and title. So, I mean, that lady, the lady that's doing the library now does some of that with Brooke and Bud already, and so does Lacey in title. So they have a pretty good workaround.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that we had, that was one of the things that I discussed with Mr. Weigel actually, was making sure that we had a pair of support inside his classrooms. So back when I taught, and I taught multiple grade levels, I had a pair.
It's hard.
I had a pair with me just so you can separate grade levels sometimes to meet the standards.
Great.
You figure out your question?
I did. Did you see the light bulb?
I did.
Yeah. So I remember there was a conversation last year whenever we were considering switching things up here with the junior high students. And I know you were in on the conversation, that's why I'm confused.
Okay.
But, so with one person doing all the specials, like PE, art, computers, whatever else was on the list, is that, when it comes to teachers, do you have to have different certifications or paperwork? I don't mean any disrespect, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Qualifications, yeah.
Depending on what you're teaching. So if you're teaching coding, no, because anyone can do that in elementary school. Like a first grade teacher can teach it and a sixth grade teacher can teach it. If you're specific, like if you're teaching foreign language, then yes, you have to have the 7-12 degree.
Okay, so PE and art, and just that, we're good, we don't have to. Perfect.
PE, yes. Art at the upper levels, yes, but not at the lower levels. I taught art every year that I taught in my classroom because we didn't have access access to our teachers, so
Are you gonna come up and teach some classes?
absolutely.
Good
You'll
moving
be
forward.
available.
Any other
Mr.
questions?
Roberts had a question.
Well, I just was wondering, sped, are we considering?
We've talked, Shannon and I have talked about that, and it's dependent on if we have a student, if we don't have a
And
student,
today, that you will have no students.
how intensive that student is. We've talked multiple times about how we will handle it dependent on the student.
Okay. Cool deal.
You good? Okay, so do you want to come up and talk a little bit about softball assistant coach needs?
Sure.
Hello, everybody. So currently we have 27 girls on the softball team, 2 coaches. What we're looking at is splitting practices so that kids get reps. And then when they go to like Campbell County and Thunder Basin and play, they're going to be playing JV at the same time as varsity. Now, on some nights, like when we host, we cannot play 2 games at once because our field's set up. So we will play just varsity or just JV depending on what we have scheduled for that night. So at some point, like if we have a JV game that's away, we will send 2 coaches with the JV team and 1 coach will stay behind to coach, to practice with varsity. So, and then vice versa on the nights when like varsity is gone or something like that. So, really it's safety, just making sure we have enough eyes because it's also one of those sports where you're not just in a contained gym or something like that. You have multiple groups out here, they're spread out, so. Supervision is a big one, and then having somebody be able to stay back to watch, help practice with the other group, or compete, depending on what it is. So we're looking at adding 1 coach. In the future, I would like to have a second coach, so that JV could have 2 and varsity could have 2. Because what's going to happen is one of those varsity coaches is going to travel with the JV coach, or those 2 varsity coaches are going to be traveling, and the JV coach will stay back. So it would be nice to have 2 people for that, 2-person contact with players. So.
Any question?
Yeah, how's the funding in that department?
I think we're okay with the funding for a coach. I don't know any way your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think for this year, was it originally planned and budgeted for? No.
Okay.
Do I think that in a year we can handle it due to not being able to hire in other areas? Yes.
Okay, never mind.
We are working on it.
Yeah. I was wondering about the policy, because there is a policy that has a number of coaches per student.
So-
and there's a- but
It
you
is,
guys-
it's 13 for a head and an assistant, and then every 12 after that, so it'd be 25.
And we're
So we are
over the top. Until the policies are changed, and then make sure we're in the box. Okay.
I haven't been to any, I think there's been one meeting and I wasn't there because I was on day shift, so I don't know what the conversation was.
Okay. Any other
Okay,
questions?
any other questions?
Thanks, Cedric.
Thank you.
So Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit about cybersecurity, maybe the AI information?
Yeah, but you said I only had 35 seconds, so.
Well, we're going to get some other people a chance to visit.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if we could
Let me swing this for you guys, and I'm gonna hit Shannon in the back of the head. Or that. Sorry, it's insured. Hey Shannon, can I sit right here?
You may.
Instead of Rebecca, you said
He did.
Everybody see this? All right, so perfect. So we'll just kind of go off of the list here. Real quick, I just kind of want to touch on cybersecurity, especially for our board, our admin. Last week, it wasn't only our district, it was several districts throughout the state. We were hit with week before, with a phishing campaign. And for those who may not know what phishing is basically they're looking for information. So somebody emails a list, and it can be phishing as well, which means it can be phone calls, it can be text message, but somebody is digging for information. They may not have several pieces of information to put anything together, but our information is out on the web, accessible to anybody and everybody. So 2 weeks ago, they were looking for phone numbers, and basically then after that, if they emailed us, once they got the phone number, then they started sending text messages asking for them to go out and buy gift cards. So really, us as educators and you as a board, we are very vulnerable to this because obviously with our kiddos, if for some reason we gave out information regarding any of that stuff, it could be a full 18 years before any parent realized that that information was out on the dark web or whatever they're doing with it. So we just have to be vigilant. You know, all the firewalls in the world won't stop social engineering, so we are the human firewall. If we ever see anything come across asking for information, first we need to slow down when we actually read that stuff. We need to think, okay, is this something that the superintendent would be asking of me or the principal would be asking of me? 2 weeks ago, they were asking for cell phone numbers when, we should have that information already. So that should have been the first indicator. The district, again, we do put things in place that if you actually pay attention to it, you would know that it was somebody pretending to be an administrator. And one of the things that we use is we use a yellow banner across our email that says, hey, this is coming from an outside organization, even though it says Ryan Gonzalez on there, it's probably not coming from him. So I just want us to remember that if the superintendent is asking for one of the board members to collect everybody's cell phone numbers and email it to them, it's probably not the superintendent. So just be vigilant. K-12 is one of the largest sectors that is under attack, and it will continue to grow just because of all of the young credit histories and information for our students that is valuable. So they can definitely sell it. All right, so with that, we'll kind of pivot over to AI. So AI has been a hot topic for probably the last 2.5 years. When it first came out, the biggest concern was plagiarism, which is still there, don't get me wrong. Now there's a lot of services coming about that are offering the AI and the hook into AI that isn't really plagiarism or cheating. It's trying to target the students who may not be picking up on how a teacher is presenting a lesson, and just kind of that differentiating of how to learn something a different way. I know when I went through Algebra 1, it was probably completely different than how Ms. Harlan is teaching it now. But that's what AI can do for us now. And so there's different services out there that can help with that. So one of the things that I was playing around with, let me see is Khan Academy. So Khan Academy came out with Khan Amigo. And it actually would be very useful for a teacher if we were actually kind of following their curriculum. But, so one of the things that I was going to do as a teacher was to create a lesson plan. So, real quick, I'm going to create a lesson plan for 9th grade algebra teaching foil. So basically with AI, all you do is you type in a prompt, and from that prompt it uses LLM, which stands for Large Language Models, to generate a response. And so when you put that prompt in, any AI will go out and will gather this information for you and then present it in a way that is almost like a template. But then as a teacher, you could go, you could tweak it. It actually will speed up a lot of productivity. Don't cheat. So this actually did it, which actually it did do what I wanted it to do.
Did you see on the bottom right on those?
Yeah. Those.
Oh yeah, so let's look at this. So there we go. So now it's writing a lesson plan on how to teach 4 little kids. Now with that, so now Khan Academy, if we actually bought it as a district, I'm not advocating that we should or we should not, because again, Khan Academy works more if we follow their curriculum. But as a parent, you can also buy into this. And I just think of my own daughter, I'm like, man, she struggles in this subject. I could probably buy this and help her through it. So what I did as a student is I actually went through and was asking the AI, and I just said to the AI, I'm not fully understanding the concept of FOIL, and all of these prompts, so in the dark purple, if I'm not colorblind, is my typing to the AI. And the light colored is the response that Khan Academy was giving me. So as you go through, you can see where, okay, I just was telling it yes, no. I was giving it the wrong answer on purpose because I don't want anybody to think I don't know what FOIL means. And then as I got through it, it just helped me. It said, okay, you're close, but you're not quite there. And it would give me a different way of understanding it. And as I worked my way down, I got to the point where it wanted to have me answer the question that it presented. So that's where AI is going. A lot of useful things. I think us as educators, we just need to start looking at the different tools and figuring out how do we teach our youth and our students growing up how to use this as a resource and not how to use it as cheating. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I've really liked about Khan Academy is if I went in and I put in an equation and I said, give me the answer, it won't. It will actually break it down and say, okay, where are you stuck? How do we help you get there? So everybody here has probably heard of ChatGPT. I personally have not used it because I'm not willing to give them my cell phone number, and that's the only way to sign up. I still respect my privacy. Google, on the other hand, does have an AI that is accessible. I have not turned it on for our students, but our staff members can utilize it. And honestly, it's pretty neat. You ask it whatever you want. And so I was doing productivity. When John asked me to do a little presentation for you guys, I actually went into Google and I said, hey, give me a presentation about AI and education, 10 slides, and it actually built this presentation. And then when he said I had 35 seconds, that's way too long. But it's that kind of thing that it's not really, we still have to vet it as humans. So during the summer, I do a camp at UW, and I was playing around with the Google AI and just said, you know, I told it to spit out some code for me to make this program that I wanted. And yes, it can spit out a lot of stuff, but I still have to know what I'm doing in order to make sure that the code is doing what it is supposed to do. And it was not working code, I had to go in and debug it, but it's stuff like that that AI can do. We just need to now teach our students how to use it and how to work their way through it. Kind of like when Google first came out and the search engines came out, and you know, how do we teach our kids how to search the internet and then use the information and tell the difference between what's fact and what's not. AI is the same way, but we teaching our kids how to use it. Any questions? Does anybody want to see what Bard can do, or Gemini?
So did you happen to ask Google, the AI in Google, the same question about your math problem?
So I didn't. That is a good, let's do that real quick.
Because that's free, you know? Because AI is public domain now. And I went to a conference at the WSBA, and the thing that really stood out for me was that other than, because we've had this information highway, with the internet, information just bombarding us and available to us. But the difference between that and AI is that AI picks up on patterns. And so that's why it's more intelligent.
Yeah. So we're going to just ask, so x minus 5 plus 3, we'll ask it real quick. Okay, and so it just generated.
Yeah.
Yeah, although with Google's, they gave you the answer. And I think that's where,
That's the
That's
difference.
the difference between curriculum and the general search. Okay.
but I do believe Google can give you lesson plans as well. If there's some teachers who want to speed up productivity, definitely give it a try. I keep looking at you, Les, I'm sorry, it's just because you're right there in my field of vision. Anyone behind me, sorry. Anyway, so now with that, there's a lot to do with AI. I just need to do that whole cyber security mind. There's a lot of bad with AI as well. You're starting to see a lot of deep fakes, which means people are getting your voice. They can use AI to generate conversations with your voice, your pictures, so they can create deep fake videos if there's enough pictures out there with you. So there are a lot of good and some bad. We just have to be teaching our kiddos how to use it for good, not evil. Okay, anything else?
Another way that I remember from the workshop that it can help teachers is that, let's say from the tests, that they can actually send information to parents from the tests on areas to work on with the kids, or, a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
That way, it seems like it could multiply our time.
Yeah.
Or teachers' time.
And honestly, I think what everybody needs to understand is we've been using AI for a long time. There's been services out there. Grammarly is a sort of AI. I think the biggest thing is now it's just starting to evolve into where the language model is so much bigger and wider that we can pretty much ask it as if it's a human and it will respond back in the same way. Anything else?
The only thing, Diane, she's the one that kind of said, hey, with this workshop, I see some advantages for our staff, maybe students who might be struggling. Sometimes teachers are busy working in a group, and maybe other students can go and actually get online and look at some other ways to get some support and some tutoring. So it might be helpful throughout the classroom. We thought about maybe resource rooms, alternative schools, things like that, that kids need some extra help. That would be a nice way to provide that. So.
And there was some services that at FETC that I attended some classes where there's some services that would help SPED and ELL. So there's a lot going on right now that we should be pretty excited about. We just need to make sure that we're using it in the appropriate manner.
Good. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, our last one, IVB. Don, you want to come up and talk a little? And anybody else? Anything to do with IVB or salary schedules, insurance? It's all kind of applicable. We'll start with you.
Okay. Well, good evening.
So the 2023-2024 IBB agreement that has been posted to the 9th agenda is the result of the IBB team meeting that was held on February 19th. At this
had some great conversations with Mr. Weigel, Jamie Wilson, and Mr. Sandlin about ways we can show staff appreciation for their time, efforts, and about ways we can make sure that staff are getting their voices heard. The results of this meeting is the 8 items listed on the IBB agreement. This agreement was negotiated in good faith as per policy HB for all staff, not just PCA members. It was a pleasure collaborating with Mr. Weigel, Mrs. Wilson, and Mr. Sandlin this year on the IBB team. I feel that we had great discussions together and that we came up with some ideas that will help increase the wages of all staff members, as well as ways to show staff appreciation for the extra duties that they take on. On behalf of the IBB team, I want to say thank you to Mr. Weigel for all of his ideas, support, and appreciation towards the staff of Pot County School District No. 1. I believe that the 8 ideas that we came up with will help all the staff in our district to feel like we're competitive with school districts around us, while also helping us to feel appreciated and like our voices are heard. I appreciate your consideration of the 2023-2024 IBB agreement and the positive effects it could have on the staff and our school district. So I hope you've had time to look over that negotiation, and if we have some staff members here, Mr. Weigel and some other IB members here, if you have questions about it, I'll help you understand it. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Specific questions at all, especially for association members? We have some other people here that give them a chance to speak also, if you want to leave or not. Good? Good?
So is the, sorry,
You're good.
okay.
You're good.
So how many people are in IBB? Or IPCE? Sorry.
PCE.
So PCEA.
How many members do I have in PCA? 58.
58. Of the 58, how many are classified?
The exact numbers, not who is who. There are several that are classified.
Several that are?
There are, yeah. I just cannot give you an exact number without looking at my list.
I can't remember my email address. I'm trying to do 2 things at one time. I am listening.
What page? Does anyone know what page that is?
Where you're the agreement,
Yeah.
go to your agenda and just push on it down.
I tried that.
I think we're good, Don, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else want to come up and speak or address a lot of people here? Come up as a pair if you don't want to come up by yourself.
Or just stand up, it's hot from there. You don't even have to come to the front of the room.
I can speak from here, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So Cindy Amundson, I teach at the high school, taught at West, past president of IBB. So I haven't really been involved the last couple of years. I'm trying to figure out high school, so I kind of focused on that the last couple of years. But when your question of classified staff, we have tried and tried and tried for, gone to people. You should be part of this so your voice can be heard. I know when I was on there, I don't think we had any classified staff at that point on there, and we were still negotiating for benefits for them, knowing that that was important, because these people, we appreciate and they make our lives better as teachers and make the kids' lives better, and so we know that that's a bad thing. So I'm not sure if you had I don't know, I just came to watch this go through because it's been so exciting. We've been working for, IBB's been so positive about just everything feels good. So I don't know, I've read a few things on Facebook, which I'm not sure, that's not the best place to go. So I don't know if you have specific questions about the classified, or you just wanted to know numbers. We have really tried, is what I'm saying, to get classified staff on there, knowing that their voice is so important. We tried when Steve Miller was the superintendent, even Corey thought that was really important, and we reached out, and nobody seems to, I mean, that, they didn't want to be part of that, so.
And we have the ability to join.
Yes,
Anyone
and it's,
can
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
So, like, rewind prior to joining the school board, everybody was like, oh, well, you're gonna be a part of that because you're a union employee. I'm like, okay. But then I quickly learned that the unions that I've been a part of in the teachers union work very differently. So I got thoroughly confused on how that worked. I'm learning. It's a learning process that I'm open to. But what is the process, and this is a question, what is the process then if we have approximately 200 employees and there's 58 that are a part and classified is or isn't, whoever that may be. How do you, like, what's the process of reaching the other 140 people? Or is it just the governing body? I'm not accusing, I'm just asking, how, like, is it just you guys work together and make the decisions, or is everybody asked? I don't know, so I'm asking.
So as per policy HB, PCA is recognized as the body to negotiate on behalf of all staff, whether they are members or not. So we invite, it is an open invitation to every staff member to join PCEA, so that is a choice not to or to join.
So are they invited, like?
They are always
Are they
welcome
asked
to join.
Like, do you, when you hold meetings and stuff, or?
When I was the president, I did invite them. This was with a different superintendent. I was asked no longer to do that and not to put anything through the school district email anymore. And so we do vote, we do come to the table with all staff in mind, regardless. And as Cindy has mentioned, we have asked, there has always been a fear for our classified, yes, not certified, I'm with you on that. Being a part of this in the past, because they are hourly, they feel like that if they would speak for things, that might jeopardize their jobs. And that has always been a very hard wall for us to try to overcome, to get people from the classified to be part of IBB. We do have them that are part of the association. Some of them do come to our meetings. Some of them choose not to, just like some of the certified choose not to. But we have asked and worked for years in order to try to benefit and better everybody at this school district, whether they are a member or not. And that's the one thing, is we are been a voice for everybody, and that's what we've done. Do they get a vote? No, they're not a member. Okay. For policy, we are the body to negotiate on behalf of all staff. So, and that's where that's at. So, but we do reach out, we do share as much as we can. And I guarantee you, not one person, knowing that I am the past president, came and asked me any questions about this, whether they were members or not members. So keep that in mind, that for reaching out and getting information, that's a two-way street. We can only go so far.
Well, and I'll just say that I suggested somebody come talk to you as with both directions. Excuse me. You know, and go ask questions, and these are the people that you ask the questions to. So that's just what I'm saying. I don't think that
I'm not.
just asking
We've
how the system
tried to
works.
get them as part of the thing, but when that hasn't worked, we've tried to work on benefits for them. We have tried to get wage increases for them. That has been a topic of conversation for the last 2 or 3 years, and that has also been a brick wall. I have, like Cindy said, excited about this negotiated agreement, because this is the first time that we have actually, as staff, felt valued by the district as staff and appreciated for our work in a very, very long time.
The last time.
So Amanda, one thing I just want to, because I'm not sure, I heard a different question that I think Leslie heard, so maybe. We always send out at the beginning, I don't know if we did this year, but we had in the past sent out like a survey to the whole district asking, what are you interested, you know, what's important to you? And so that, I mean, I can't say this year because I just, but in the past, we've sent it out to everyone, classified, certified, anyone, even, you know, the principals, we'd send out a survey and say, what's important to you? What are your big rocks? And so we took, I think a lot of the negotiations this year came from a willingness for someone to actually dialogue about it from past years.
And
They haven't changed, like the big rocks haven't changed.
in my whopping one, sorry.
Was that
In my
the
whopping
question you were
1
asking?
year of experience, like
Yeah.
last year, I asked a lot of questions, because like I said, going into this, I'm like, well, I don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
And so I asked a lot of, asked a lot of questions, and was trying to learn, but I didn't get the same feeling of the conversations and the openness last year that I have, from my view, have experienced this year. So that's why I just wondered, like, how does it work?
Well, and I have a question, how is it different, because I don't know, I've never been a part of like a union on that other side, how is it different? You said it's very much different than the union I'm on. Like-
So the unions that I've been a part of, you know, it's a lot of, so we would have union meetings, and you go to the union hall and you put your input in to all employees, and then the governing body goes forth and negotiates basically with upper management that is not, it's all closed deals, you know, that they do that part, but it's more union versus corporate, or, you know, management, where this seems to be a very, it's just very different.
I think it used to be that way. I think like what Dawn was trying to say is that it used to not be a partnership, it used to feel more like a battle.
Yeah.
And so this was a refreshing change.
Yes. And that's where it's hard coming in with 1 year experience.
Do all employees have to be in a union?
No, and they're not, and they're not all. Or, I mean, the IBEW that I belong to, not everyone in the plant is a union.
Well, and I can tell you our numbers are down because of some current national policies. If they could just be part of our union, it might be a little different too, but.
I've heard a lot of people that would rather be PCEA only, but they can't afford to do the dues, or not are willing to take away from something else to pay for the dues.
And I don't
And that's-
disagree. For years, I wasn't a member, but I depended on them to be members. Like, I kind of sucked off of my, a lot of years, I know that, but. So yeah, I've done somehow. All right.
Well, and I think in future, looking at maybe how we involve everybody in the district, that's something that's going to be on our radar too during negotiations, whether that we look at policy or whatever, but just to make sure everybody knows we're all a team, we're all working together, and we all just want to be a solid district together. Any other questions, comments?
Well, so I wanted to just make a comment. So Danielle Parker, I teach 3rd grade at West. And so I agree, like with Cindy and a lot of other people, it's really exciting. I had a really unique perspective of sitting on at least 4 interviews last summer where we offered jobs to candidates and they didn't take them. And so I think that Mr. Weigel has, and the rest of IDB have like our best interests in mind for the district. We have to be competitive. And we sat in a meeting where Mr. Weigel asked, what do we need to be able to move forward as a district? And my answer was, we need wins. And I think this is a win on many levels. And so if we want to recruit teachers who are going to impact our students and be good coworkers and be great community members, we have to give them a reason to come here. And I think this is a good start. So,
Thank you. We're feeling the same way, you know, back to the original conversation. I feel like there's the follow-up of what happens in the meetings, what is decided. You know, we're going quickly to a possible vote, you know, for hiring, you know, to get the cream of the crop. So there's kind of a fast turnaround in all of this, and I think a lot of people are like, what? You know, what just happened there? What did I miss? And because of mistrust in the past, a lot of that, that has come into play also with this. But I guess the point I'm getting at is however you can get back to all the people that are involved or not involved in the meetings, it would be big progress, I think, to communicate what's happened, especially with great news like I agree. This is a win, you know, we're heading in the right direction. We're feeling valued as trustees, and I'm glad that you guys also feel valued because you are.
Back row, there we go.
Hello, I'm Jessica Shepard, I teach second grade at Libby. The difference in IBB just from the last 2 years was like night and day. I can tell you the anxiety we felt going into those meetings last year was high, like it was not fun. I'm hoping if people are with me. So I want to thank you for making that a more positive experience this year. Also, it was shared with us from our rep, Greg, that we're the only district in the last 6 years who have not had an increase of any sort. Like our number is 0. Everyone else in the entire state has gone up at least $1,000. So when you're talking about hiring new teachers, why would you choose to land in a place where you don't feel valued? I guess in that case, like if we're repeatedly saying, well, they come back, I mean, they're here, they're still coming, but they're not, because we have many open jobs that we have not filled this year, which would be great to not be in that position next year. I think like our special ed department would agree that we have a lot of jobs that are open. We have ELL, we have all sorts of things that we could use to feel more supported.
Thank you.
Next.
I'm just going to say a little bit, like, our goal was to kind of get this in place so we can recruit. I was at the one interview fair, and this is like prime time to hire and recruit teachers, so that was kind of the fast track with a certified group, so we don't have to hide the number underneath, or we don't have to broadcast maybe there's no salary, because we're hoping someone applies, like we've had a couple of this year, showing some candidates maybe our future salary schedule, say it's not approved yet, but we could open up positions with the salary schedule this next week. There was not one person that like looked down on it or turned away. They were like, hey, I like Weedham, I'd like to come to Weedham. So it was nice to hear that in terms of some of the candidates they're recruiting. So again, we can turn some things around instead of having to be here, people want to be here. I kind of like that. I talked to some of the teachers I think at West about, when I first met with them, they talked about, yeah, we have to be here because we have a land or family. We want to turn around, they want to be here. Right? So we're consistent, and we take care of everybody, and we support staff, and we're doing good work with our students. So that was kind of a fast track, but I think we're starting to itch towards those goals of being a place people want to be. So.
Any other discussion on that?
And I'd just like to say too, that again, on the classified side is maybe we'll quit losing good workers to our fast food restaurants.
I agree.
Or Legacy Home's been a big one.
We lost a janitor because she could go make $4 more an hour at AW.
Well, and you know, I have such a high value for all the work that all of you are doing. But we're hiring or potentially hiring people that will be around our children, who are our most valuable asset. And I feel very strongly that if you want a culture that promotes honor, then we all have to begin by honoring. And I agree, when every place in town will pay more, that leaves what we get as, you know, it's a problem. It's just trying to recruit the best quality people for our students, whether it's classified or certified, that doesn't matter. And so it's just getting our vision a little bit higher, I think, for me. And I really just want to thank everybody for your willingness to come and ask the questions and, you know, delve into it. We're a team. John has done an excellent job with his research and how he's interacting with everyone. And I just want to thank you too, John, for your hard work.
If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn the workshop and reconvene at 7 o'clock.